guest with me today is Aaron Clements from C&C Automotive from Augusta, Georgia, and multiple places down south. First question I have for my friend Aaron, when did your business get started?
Business was started in 1977 by my father. I joined him shortly after that. I was in the Air Force at the time. Got out of the Air Force. I had been working on fighter jets. Loved it, loved airplane, loved traveling, got to do all that in the Air Force. Got out and always wanted to work with my father. We got along really well. We enjoyed the time that we spent together.
Awesome. So it started as pretty much a two-person partnership once you came on board. At that point in time, it was always a single location when you and your father had it, correct?
It was a single location that we started. And I don't mind telling you, Reed, we worked hard, man.
Absolutely.
Worked really hard. I remember the first building, metal building, hot. I mean, it was hot, cold in the wintertime. But we grew. We ran out of space, needed more space, needed more parking, more lift racks. So we moved to a building that we leased at the time. That first one was like 4 bays. The next one we got was something like 6 or 7. We worked really hard there. And I was riding around on a little Honda 750 motorcycle one Saturday afternoon and seen a bus station and walked in and talked to the guy for a period of time. I'll be doggone if we didn't buy that thing.
Oh my
God.
God.
Still on it today, as a matter of fact. That building was built for buses, and it was an older building. But this building had very heavy doors with chains that you open and close the doors. We started getting really busy there. We were busy before, but even with this, I think this was like 10 bays. We got even busier, ran out of parking. And every single day we would have to, in the morning time, raise those big, heavy doors up and try to get a whole new group of cars in, get the cars out. We worked harder than ever before, but probably made the most growth there that I could imagine.
So at that point in time, was your daughter working with you?
No, not yet. My daughter started working with us after we moved into our main building, our mothership. We had run out of space on that building. We moved from there down the street. There was a dealership. I went in and talked to the gentleman about the dealership, and he said, yeah, I'll sell it. So we bought the dealership, and it was fairly large. And at that time also, I'll mention my sister was working with us this whole time, and she just fantastic, everything she did. But when we moved to this building, my daughter started college. She wanted to go into the medical field, and she was working here to make money so that it would help her with spending money for college. Mm-hmm. And she graduated from college, started getting ready to go into medical school. And she called me in here one morning and she said, Dad, I changed my mind. I think I want to go into business. And I said, well, great. I said, what business? She said, I want this business. And she pretty much told me she wanted my job. And she ended up getting it. But she did real well, but I knew that she wanted to grow also. I'd always wanted to continue to expand, and that was her goal also. And so shortly after that, we bought another location. It turned out to be a very good location, got very busy. Matter of fact, we bought some property next to it recently. And then not too long after that, we bought another, and it was a fairly large operation also. These were in Georgia. Not too long after that, we bought one in South Carolina, and about a year ago, we bought another one in actually Columbia, South Carolina.
So we're up to 5 locations at this point in time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what was some of the key determinations on picking the locations that you have?
We wanted a lot of drive-by traffic, and that was very important to us because the location downtown, we have a medium amount of drive-by, but we had customer relationships that kept people coming back. But when we were moving into a new area, it takes a long period of time to gain those customer relations. So you want a way to where you can bring customers in quickly. And we knew we had a couple of different ways we could go. We could go on an area that didn't have as much drive-by traffic, and then we would have to advertise a lot more. or we could advertise a little less and go to an area with a lot of drive-by traffic. So we chose to drive-by traffic. The two areas that Shop 2 and Shop 3, they're on two of the busiest roads here. They've been very successful, done well. And well, I guess Shop 4 is a very heavily traveled. It's right across the street from a technical college, fair amount of drive-by there. So we wanted drive-by traffic. And of course, we wanted a building with good aesthetics. We knew we would do some remodeling, but we didn't want to have to build from the ground up, actually. Those were two of the main things that we were looking for. Of course, we looked at demographics very closely as we went forward. The reputation that the shop had before had some to play in it, but that wasn't a major issue because we would be changing all the name and everything else.
So that being said, and it was a great segue because my next question was on the locations that you bought, were they already pre-existing or did any of them start from scratch?
These were all pre-existing and that we started. We've looked into starting one from scratch, but decided right now not to do it. But all the ones so far have been pre-existing shops. They took time to work out the process because a lot of those pre-existing shops, you purchase them on relationships. I mean, there's a lot of times that the people that you're buying them from, their shop and thinking about their shop means more to them than the money. I guess it's like somebody selling a car with sentimental value. They want to sell it to someone that they feel good about. And you have to prove yourself to them and prove that you're very much aware of the time and energy and the effort and everything else that they poured into the building. In many cases, they've got a lot to be proud of. They've just reached the point to where they want to do something different.
Basically, from what I hear you saying is, hey, these people had relationships with their customers. They want whoever buys the business to keep those relationships going, and that this baby that they created still lives on, even though it might change its name.
That is correct. Some people just don't want it and want to leave, but you want to show the respect to the business or to the person in the business that you're purchasing from. At least that's been the case with me on many occasions.
Sounds to me that the people that you were buying from were ready to retire, pretty much.
That was the case in practically all the situations, except for one. There was one, the gentleman owned a hotel. And actually, this one, in a way, was the business side of it was started from scratch. Our Shop 3, that gentleman, he was an eye doctor from India, made a huge amount of money, and has a lot of hotels. So he was basically using the shop to store big televisions and all the stuff that would go in a hotel. But he still had that same emotional attachment to the building itself. He had it built many years ago. So it wasn't a case of having the attachment to the business, but to the building he did. Many people had offered to buy it before, but I approached him in a way to where he knew I respected what he had done as far as the building goes.
So that one you actually, because it was more of a storage facility, that was a starting from scratch scenario.
Yes, that would be more of a starting from scratch scenario. Now, of course, within, I'd say 15, 16 miles of our existing shops, company name was able to attract people that way. But as far as in that area, yes, it was from scratch.
The other question I had is, was real estate involved in every purchase that you had?
Yes, we have purchased every piece of real estate from every shop.
Was that an important factor in those locations that you bought?
Yes, the property fits into our business plan and our long-range goals. So we tend to purchase property. Now, I definitely wouldn't be against a situation where we wasn't able to purchase property and a place could make good money by leasing, because in some cases it can be a very profitable situation. But with us, we chose to purchase the property on each deal.
again, by owning the real estate, you've got a lot more control of what's going to happen along the way. Gives you more opportunity that if you want to build onto the building, at least you don't feel like you're building your own equity in yourself. Did the size of the facility and number of bays come into play on your decisions on those locations?
Yes, initially they did on the first two. We wanted somewhere in the range of 10 to 15 bays, preferably 15. And we did get that on our shop 2 and our shop 3. As a matter of fact, the shop 3 had, we're just opening and really cranking up the side of 2 oil change areas in there. And plus it's got another 15 bays on top of that. So that's been kind of exciting. My daughter's been in charge of that also on getting that situation rolling, and it's really looking good. We're completely renovating the part having to do with the oil change base. But as far as the shops themselves, we did initially only want larger shops, but then we found out there's a lot to be said for a good 5 or 6 bay. When you get into 2 or 3, it's a little difficult for our business model to do what we need to do. But when you get into 5 or 6, some of them can be very easy to manage and can make some very nice net profit from those buildings. And really, you don't have to spend a lot of time with them if you get the right manager.
Speaking of the managers, do you create an incentive system where the manager treats it as if it's their own? And is there a compensation plan that encourages that kind of quote unquote partnership with that manager?
Yes, most of the managers do get paid a percentage. Well, usually a nice base and a percentage of GP.
And you have a separate manager in each location. They're not close enough that one general manager manages 2 locations possibly.
Well, we do have a manager at each location, and they're awesome. Most of them have been with the company for many, many years. And really, I've been telling my daughter that it's time to go ahead and get a district manager, but she kind of enjoys being the district manager. She would be considered my partner now also. She has shares of the company, so she's playing 2 roles, that and district manager role.
What's the plan long-term? How many does Aaron and Amanda plan to have long-term together?
Well, we would like to continue to grow. It's hard to put an exact number, but of course, I'd like to see at least 10. It's something that we both enjoy doing. I think that one of the things I enjoy most out of it is having the opportunity to watch our team grow. If we wasn't at the size and been able to open new locations, I got a feeling my daughter would be very bored, and we would probably have a lot of managers that are very bored because they wouldn't have really been able to get out and spread out. And by the way, if we're talking about other locations, I will mention that part in the beginning is the whole second location starts with the first location. It needs to be running smoothly. It needs to be almost maxed out or maxed out, money in the bank. When you open another location, you're going to spend more than you planned. Whatever you planned, you can bet it's going to be more than that.
Absolutely.
And so you need to have that ready. You need some good processes and procedures. You need to be able to leave your location for a period of time and not get that dreaded phone call of the manager calling saying, you're not going to believe this, because that can happen too. But in short, if I had to narrow it down to one thing that's most important, is people, people, people. You have to have good people. A lot of times, if you plan to open another location, sometimes you have to go heavy at your existing location in order for new people to absorb your culture and so that you can pass that on. You mentioned briefly when we were talking one time about mistakes that we've made.
Yep.
Probably a mistake that I made one time and doubt I'd make it again, because you touch that stove one time and find out it's hot. You normally kind of stay away from it a little bit. But that would be moving your very good existing people from one location to your next location. And if you wasn't able to spend the right amount of time away from your business, what'll happen is you'll take those good people from your first business, and then you'll go to the second location and you'll go with them in order to make it work. Everything will be going along smooth. And then you look over here in your first location is taking a nosedive, and you say, oh no, what in the world am I going to do? This place, I got to do something. So you run over there to your first location and you start working with it. And then your existing really good people are frustrated because they're working with people they've never worked with before, and it's not doing good, and you're not there to help. So it takes a nosedive. So then you leave that first location and it's like a ping pong match.
Yes.
You're back and forth trying to keep the shops going. So you really need to have good people. This is just my thought process. This may not be accurate, but a good manager can help compensate for technicians, because that good manager can either find new technicians or motivate them or to solve whatever issues there. But good technicians can't offset a bad manager. If the manager's bad, you're going to have problems. You're probably going to lose technicians. You're probably going to lose service advisors. It's just not going to fly well. I've been down that road too. So that's my thoughts. I don't have anything on paper to say that, but that's what's happened that I've seen over the years.
Your comment about the ping pong between the two locations, in the years of experience I've had with working with shops since 1985, that's been always the case, is the ping pong factor happens because they don't groom the right people to move on to the next location and have the right people still stay solid in the first location. And it drives the owner crazy along the way, trying to be back and forth. And it actually makes two locations less profitable than just staying with the first location that they have. So yes, that's very true.
And some of the nightmares that I see over the years is someone's trucking along with their first shop. Everything's going good. They're working in the shop. They hadn't really saved up a huge amount of money or put money in the bank because they're investing it all back in the business and buying this and buying that to expand the business and make it look good. Well, all of a sudden, somebody calls from across town and they're getting ready to retire. I got the deal for you. And they make the jump before they have the proper amount of money in the bank. They make the jump before they have the processes, procedures. They do all these things. Most of them, I mean, somebody's got enough willpower to do it. They'll stick in there and make it happen. It can be very painful to go through that scenario. So if you got any intentions on having another location, I would start preparing it for it before you get that phone call of saying, hey, I got a great deal for you.
Perfect. I do appreciate that. That's great. Planning ahead for an opportunity is a great idea versus the opportunity showing up and you're not prepared to properly handle it correctly. I think it was December, I got an email from a client of mine that said, I got this shop down the street, they're thinking of closing. I think it's a great deal for me to buy. I said, is all your house in order at your first shop? And his reply was no. I said, no matter how good the deal is, I'd probably say you shouldn't take it, okay? Because you're not ready to handle two locations. So yeah. Great advice.
Oh, and you mentioned in your client, that made me want to make sure that I add the other item that's very important. Your books have to be in order, because if you're not at that second location, or you're not at the first location, or you're not at either location, you have to have some way to monitor what's going on. Because before in your shop, you're able to go in and get the feel of what's going on. Yeah, customers seem to be happy, technicians are happy, and it looks like we're making money. Would you not be in there? You have to have another method, and that other method is the P&L sheet, balance sheet, and generally good numbers that you can look at.
Now, you've used the same POS system for all 5 locations?
We do, yeah. Okay. We switched to TechMetrics. I was a longtime RO Writer supporter. Great company, but we've had very good success with TechMetrics, and I'm able to get the information I need very quickly. Of course, we've been with Parmelis a lot of years. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. POS system is the same. Everything that you do at one location, you do exactly the same as the other, kind of like McDonald's. In other words, if I went into McDonald's in Maryland here and I ordered a Big Mac, it would look exactly like a Big Mac in Georgia. Would you say you have the same processes for checking out a car in each of the locations?
We do that to a degree, but we also leave a lot of open room for the shops to experiment and do different things that they want to try. Now, if they try something and it works out very well, then we all do it. But each thing that we've done, for instance, we use a lot of the shop fix stuff like the board system at most locations. One location it's very difficult to do with because of the size and the area, but all the rest of them do. We were on a management call yesterday, and there was a deal I want to work with on one of the tire suppliers, and it sounded like something real good to me. And what we plan to do is try it here, and if it works out good, then all the other locations to do that. I picked that method up many, many years ago. The book, was it Made in America with Walmart founder?
I think something like that.
Yeah, but that was in that book. He allowed each Walmart to be able to experiment with different things. And then if it worked, they would bring it back to their main meeting and they would use that method. Whatever he did, it worked out pretty good for him.
Yes, it did very, very well for him, by the way. So how often do you have manager meetings?
At least once a month, sometimes twice a month. Do Zoom calls now. We used to get together. And
do you create competitions between the stores or between technicians? Or do you not make it competitive between the different locations and maybe just internal competitions?
Well, we don't really have the competition right now, but we do have a system that we're working on now that in the near future, we will have the competition between the team members. It's a way that we can all share information faster to know how each shop's doing.
You mentioned that each shop has a manager. Did the managers all come from internal team members, or did you ever hire from outside and bring the manager in?
Well, we're very fortunate in the beginning to get a lot of the very good people very early in the company's growth cycle. And that was probably a year before we started expanding to more locations. A lot of them started with us right after tech school.
Oh, wow.
And they started as technicians, and we could see that there was a lot of potential there for leadership. And so we used practically every one of those that started with us in the beginning are now managers, the ones that had that leadership qualities. But now we've run into a case where our latest store, we had to go outside and find someone. There wasn't really anyone that actually even wanted to move up to that leadership role. And we did go through a process of finding the right person for that. And that was, I mentioned before, that good manager, bad manager. We got a good manager now, all the difference in the world. You don't have to either be there all the time or keep an eye on it all the time. They handle so many different things. But of course, in doing that, we had to spend a lot of time. Actually, Amanda did this also, spending a lot of time there, making sure that the new manager was able to absorb our culture as he went through the processes of leadership.
What would you say is the most important trait that you look for in a person when you're getting ready to hire them, whether it be a manager, a technician, a service advisor? What would you say is the most important trait of that person before they become part of CNC Automotive?
Attitude. I like a person with a good attitude and willing to change. So many times you get a person that's done it one way all this time, and they're not willing to try anything different. That makes it very difficult to grow because you'll go out, you'll find great ideas, and you'll come back and say, hey, let's talk about this. And the person don't really want to talk. And that creates a lot of conflict.
Mhm.
So willing to change, wanting to grow, wanting to make money. I like people that want to make more money. If they're willing to work and do more to make good money. And no doubt all the others, honesty, integrity, the culture, caring about other people, all those are just a must that you have to have with a good manager.
It's interesting. All the words you chose are something you can't teach a person. They have to have it within themselves. My belief is you could find any technician and make them a better technician, but you can't make somebody a better person if they have a poopy attitude. You can't change that attitude. It is them. So that's great. Those traits that you have, and the finding people that are eager is important.
Now, Reed, I just got to ask, did you just say a poopy attitude?
A poopy attitude. Yes, I did. I chose to keep it G-rated here today.
And with that, I will say that by the time someone hits a leadership role, they've got some background. And what I found in the past is a winner is going to be a winner. That's one of the reasons on sports teams, they look so close at a person's stats. If that person was a winner on one team, very high probability they're going to be a winner on another team. So we look at that background very closely of that person, of where they were before, how they did before, and of course, references and all the other things, looking at Facebook and seeing the type of Facebook page they have. All of these things are very important when we're looking for another person. There's a lot of things you can miss, but that increases the odds of getting a good person.
Awesome. And how many team members do you have right now across the board in the 5 locations?
You might know that better than I do, Reed. I don't know.
Too many.
I guess I'm going to guess it right around 50.
And everyone has bought into and drink the Kool-Aid of CNC Automotive's culture, correct?
I feel like they do. Now, of course, with that many people, there's bound to be some that may not necessarily be there yet. But we try to make the Kool-Aid taste really good so that they'll want to. Just thinking, I can't think of any team member that I don't really like a lot and feel like that they're an asset to the team right now.
And that's important. You work with these people all day long, so you definitely want to make sure that in all the locations that you have, there is a form of camaraderie, first single location as well as hopefully as the big organization as well. When you are looking at location number 6 and 7, how quick do you think you should move into those next locations?
Well, it depends on the deal. If we recently looked at one location that just didn't have all the things that we needed to be there. And so we backed off on it. The building was great. Everything was good about the building, but some issues to do with location. It was in a very nice area, fairly busy road, but there were some issues there that had to do with size and different things that made us hold off on that. But if the right one come along, we would probably move as fast as we need to move.
So one of the things that you've just said there is your house is financially in order to be ready for the next opportunity or the next opportunity that if it would happen, where a lot of shop owners don't necessarily have that financial stability to be able to leap at number 2, number 3 location along the way.
Yeah, we don't have an expensive lifestyle or anything. So one of the things that bring me happiness is seeing the company grow. Mm-hmm. So we have put money away for 2 or 3 reasons. One, you just never know what the future is going to hold. Matter of fact, my daughter says, "Hey, it's time to spend some money." But you never know what the future is going to hold. And plus, you never know what opportunity might come your way. So it's better to be prepared.
Absolutely. Do you see that there's a benefit having location number 3 rather than just having 1 and 2? In other words, I've always heard that by having a 3rd location, it creates a little more cash flow to help with that concept of the middle management type person. As you called it, the district manager could be then hired and take you a little more further away. Would you say that is correct?
No, I believe that is correct. I believe when you, the second location actually is a little bit more difficult because you do go through that back and forth, back and forth. When you hit the 3 and 4, then you got a situation where you're able to get, well, district manager type deal. Actually, many times, if you can do the district manager yourself for a period of time after, even on the third store, that's not a bad idea if possible. It kind of depends on the distance. But when you move on into the 4, then you do have that team support to where everybody can work together and help each other. For instance, we got one of the managers at shop 2 right now. Gets about an hour, over an hour drive, but he's going to Columbia on a regular basis to help bring our culture into the shop. Things that we like to do on each car inspection process, our QC processes, and all the things that we do, he's making sure that they are able to do that. So unless shop 2 is running well, he wouldn't be able to do that. And if it was only shop 2, he probably wasn't able to do that. But like it is, he's got another manager that can, at one of the other locations, that could kind of help if he's gone for a period of time, and vice versa. So it's just more people to work together. As long as everybody's pulling on the same end of the rope, that part, having more people is very beneficial.
So your first 3 locations are relatively close to each other. You could do marketing that's going to spread across all 3. How does that affect the 2 locations that are an hour away?
Well, actually, it's just one location that's an hour away. The other ones are anywhere from 20 minutes, 30 minutes away. So I would say more like 30 minutes. But the one an hour away, we have a system set up to where some of our advertising, well, for instance, things like mailers need very little changes to be able to adapt that to the other store. Okay. The other one is radio. It's just a matter of changing a few things in that and moving over. What, to me, the most important part of the whole deal is being able to give that customer our culture, our feeling, our caring for them when they get there, because you can have all the advertising, get all the people in there you want, but if they only come one time and never come back, you've wasted that money. Absolutely. So number one thing is getting the service counter and the technicians. Well, the other thing is if the car's not fixed, it don't matter what you did. If they pay money to have the car fixed and it's doing the same thing or worse, then all the money's wasted. So getting them in the door is important, but doing the right things with them when they come in the door is what turns them into the long-term type customer.
Gotcha.
And that's what we're going for. So actually, close to the same advertising that we're doing here, we are also doing at the other store, only just changing some differences in there. And plus, so many of them still tie together. I mean, for instance, website, it wouldn't matter where they're at. Boom, they would get the same thing.
Would you say you have established a strong brand recognition? Potential buyer or customer is starting to recognize, wow, I see CNC everywhere along the way. Is that what you?
I would say so. Just, I mean, recent memory. I was at a place just yesterday, and I was talking to somebody behind the counter, and another guy walked by. CNC. We had a jingle a lot of years ago and made, and people walk around singing that song all the time.
Very cool. Very cool. I won't ask you to sing it. That's okay.
Probably be better not to right now.
I want to wrap things up with the last question. I want you to share with a potential person that want to expand their business a pearl of wisdom that you think would be the best thing for a person that wants to expand from one location to 2 or 3 or 4, or be like you and have 5, 6, 7, 8. What would be your last and final pearl of wisdom?
Find good people.
Okay.
Yeah. Find people who can do the things that either you don't know how to do or don't do well or don't like to do, and find people that can handle that part for you. because I don't care how good you are. If you start expanding, you can't do it all. You're only going to be as good as your people are. And I think along with that, learn to accept that you care more about your business than almost any of those other people. So you can't expect them to give up everything they have. A lot of them just pour their whole heart into it. Not every time. You can still have good people that work a certain amount of hours a day that still mean a huge amount to the company and can help you grow a huge amount and will help you grow a good amount, that are not necessarily working 13, 14, 15 hours a day. They come in and they just do a great job. So what it just boils down to, and really, if you think about it, almost the whole company boils down to people.
Absolutely.
And so I think when you hit that point to where you actually enjoy seeing people grow, like I love it when we have a oil change person that comes in. Next thing you know, they've grown and they're doing some maintenance work, and then they're doing technical work. Then they buy a truck, and then they get a girlfriend, and then they get married, and they have kids, and you watch them grow. You have to really enjoy that part of it. And it has to be pretty much as much a part of enjoying that as you do enjoy watching the business grow. Because if you're just there only to watch the business grow, it's going to be kind of short term. You're not going to, it's not going to be a lasting good feeling, because eventually that's going to have good times and bad times. But that feeling of watching your people grow and raise families and become part of the community and do well, that's and start making good money, that's all a good thing.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Way to end the conversation with the wanting to make your team members better than they were, and also being a cheerleader, a fan of your team members as well as you are of your business. That is great stuff, Aaron. I do appreciate it. And Aaron, I want to thank you so much for giving me your time today. And hopefully everybody else that's been watching this will pick up a couple pearls along the way and help them develop their business a little bit more, and maybe get excited about taking on location number 2, 3, 4, maybe a conglomerate where they have 50 stores across the United States. That would be awesome.
Well, I mentioned this before, Reed, but I'll mention it again. I think a lot of the people now with automotive repair shops are a lot like the farmer. They don't want all the land; they just want the land next to them. So that's something that I've seen over a period of time. A lot more people are excited about purchasing other locations. They see that it can be done. It's really a beautiful sight when you do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day. And thank you so much again, sir.
Reed, I enjoy being here, and it's always great to talk to you too.